Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth, the channel where everything is a bit rough around the edges. Today I want to tell you about one of my slightly guilty pleasure pieces of hiking gear that I actually think everyone should look into getting, and that is Crocs. I feel kind of guilty about them because people have very strong feelings about Crocs, and I do agree they are extremely ugly. I can't actually say anything good about the way that they look, but I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why I think they are an essential piece of backpacking gear. So what I use my Crocs for is, one, as camp shoes. So when I get to a campsite and I've set up the tent, I can take off my hiking shoes and put the Crocs on. And then number two, I use them as an option for river crossings. Before I started taking Crocs with me, I actually used flip-flops as camp shoes, and I would just walk across rivers barefoot if I had to take off my shoes. But both of those options kind of sucked. Trying to walk across a rocky riverbed barefoot is a terrible idea. You bash your toes in. It's really not fun. I've actually even tried it with flip-flops on, and that's even worse because your foot slides around in the flip-flop. And that is another reason why flip-flops at camp is really not ideal for me. They don't provide a lot of stability, and the campsites that we're in are often very uneven and wild, and I've a couple of times almost twisted my ankle just walking around in flip-flops, and they have no grip on them at all either. Another problem with having flip-flops at camp is that they can be really, really cold, and it's pretty difficult to wear socks with them. You have to do that weird, have your toe in between your sock maneuver, which I don't think is all that attractive. Although I probably shouldn't be talking if I'm advocating wearing Crocs, right? But anyway, here are some of the reasons why I like Crocs as river crossing shoes. Other options that you might be tempted to use for river crossing shoes include those aqua booties or actual water shoes. Some brands specifically make a sort of a sandal type shoe for river crossings. But I don't like using those shoes, and that's because the aqua booties don't have enough structure to them to protect your toes, so you still end up bashing your toes on rocks. And the water shoe sandal things, they remain wet. So do the aqua booties, for that matter. They can't be dried off, either one of them. They stay wet once you've done a river crossing, and you have to put them in a plastic bag inside your pack or hang them on the outside, and it's just a bit of a mission. These things, on the other hand, they are quite hard. They have quite a lot of structure around the toe, so they protect your toes very nicely when you're crossing a river. And because they're basically made of this sort of foam rubber stuff, you can just dry them off with a shirt or a towel or a buff, and they're dry, and then you can use them as camp shoes because they're not wet. For the same reason, when I'm around camp, I really like using these because obviously, even if you've used them as river crossing shoes, they can still be dry. They have a little bit more structure to them, so you're not going to bash your toes on rocks. And they are actually really comfortable. It is kind of like putting your foot in a slipper, which after a really long day of hiking is fantastic. The other thing is that it's a bit easier to wear socks with them, so you can keep your foot a bit warmer. The one problem is that if the ground is wet, like you're walking around in wet grass, because of the holes in the Crocs, your sock is also going to get wet. But I actually haven't had too many issues with that happening. I still like these as camp shoes. And the Crocs actually have a lot of the same benefits as slip-slops while actually being more functional. They're very easy to slip on and off. There are no laces that you have to bother with. They're very comfortable. They have a lot of ventilation for your foot. If you wear them with socks, you can wear them in colder weather. If you wear them without socks, they're fine for warmer weather because of the ventilation. And they have a little bit more grip than flip-flops. There are a couple of cons to using Crocs. One of which is that they are extremely ugly, and you might get teased about it slightly by your hiking companions. The other problem is that they are actually quite bulky. They don't compress down at all. They're definitely more bulky than a flip-flop. So they are quite bulky, but surprisingly, they're not heavy at all. These Crocs are actually lighter weight than my flip-flops. So don't let the bulk deceive you. They are actually fairly lightweight. And those are my reasons for always packing Crocs in my hiking bag. Let me know if you have a favorite piece of hiking gear that you get teased about sometimes. Or if you have any other thoughts about Crocs, please leave them in the comments below as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more.